I found my initial employment as a teacher to be the realization of an incredibly perfect job, a workplace that seemed almost too good to be true. Every day was a testament to professional harmony. My colleagues are all very friendly, and the student body exhibited exceptional behavior, with all the students are obedient and understanding. Beyond the pleasant atmosphere, the working conditions were highly desirable. The work is easy, the salary is high, and I could enjoy a life free from the burden of long hours. As I never have to work, over time I felt genuinely fulfilled in this environment. Despite this unparalleled perfection, the institution possessed a single, peculiar characteristic. The school does not have a principal. Instead, all administrative and disciplinary duties fell to a single figure, a homeroom teacher who manages all the teachers. This was Sensei Tanaka. At the time, I paid little attention to this strange arrangement, too absorbed in the bliss of my faultless career. The peaceful tenure was abruptly shattered near the close of the semester until the end of the semester. It was not until the day of the final exam that I realized something was wrong. The usual environment, which was always filled with laughter, had become unusually quiet. A palpable dread hung in the air. Every teacher wore a serious expression as if they had just encountered something terrible. Sensei Tanaka, the man who managed the entire faculty, held a notebook in his hand. He moved through the teacher's room, stopping for a few minutes in front of each teacher, making mysterious notations, not letting anyone know what he was writing down. My curiosity led me to ask the teacher next to me, Sensei Sato, what Sensei Tanaka was doing. I was immediately met with an unexpected and shocking reaction. I didn't expect to see Sensei Sato, who was usually very friendly, suddenly glare at me angrily. He sharply ordered me, "Stay away from me, don't bother me." Stunned by this sudden hostility, I turned around and discovered the source of the tension. I saw Sensei Tanaka standing behind me. Not knowing how long he had been standing there, I smiled and offered a customary greeting. "Good morning, headmaster." But the man who was typically gentle was now looking at me with an expressionless face. This unnerving exchange sent a shiver down my spine, prompting me to immediately lower my head like the other teachers. After a tense few minutes, Sensei Tanaka walked out of the teacher's room door. He began reading names in a solemn, chilling tone as if he was announcing a verdict. The first name called was Sensei Yamada, assigned to test the first grade. This assignment was met with unconcealable joy, with the teacher's face filled with unconcealable joy. Almost wanting to jump up and run around the room, Sensei Tanaka glanced at him, showing no emotion, and continued to read the names, assigning the next teacher to test the second class. This selection was met with such gratitude that the person was so happy that he almost burst into tears. With each call from the head teacher, more and more teachers stood up one by one, but their joy gradually decreasing as they were called later. The tension climaxed when the last person was assigned to class 12. It was Sensei Sato, who was sitting next to me. He stood up trembling, behaving as if he was about to be executed, and begged, "I don't want to go." Sensei Tanaka suddenly raised his head to look at him and simply asked, "What?" Sensei Sato's voice trembled uncontrollably as he repeated, "Head teacher, I don't want to." Sensei Tanaka asked coldly, "Then do you want to be fired?" Hearing this, Sensei Sato seemed to have just heard the death curse. His whole body trembled and he lowered his head as if accepting his fate. Finally, the verdict was delivered to me. Sensei Tanaka withdrew his gaze, lowered his head to look at the notebook in his hand, then cut off his voice again and announced, "Sensei Koyama, test class 13. The moment he finished speaking, all eyes in the room turned to me. Everyone's gaze was filled with pity and heaviness. I was thoroughly confused, knowing that there were only 12 classes in grade 11. I had been teaching here for a whole semester, and I've never heard of a class 13. The usually quiet head homeroom teacher suddenly became kind and opened his mouth to explain. He stated that since the earthquake that happened 16 years ago, class 11 and class 13 had disappeared, but it would reappear every 2 years. The other teachers stood up and hurriedly walked out of the room. From the time the announcement was made to the start of class, it was only 5 minutes, but they had never been in such a hurry. As for me, I was vaguely led away by the homeroom teacher. Only when I reached the end of the hallway did I see the sign for class 11, chapter 13. He gave me a piece of paper and gave me a chilling send-off. From now on, you must do your best to teach each lesson well. He added the cryptic warning that if I was lucky enough, I won't need to test anymore, and that, on the contrary, if you're unlucky, you won't need to test anymore. The more I listened, the more the words sounded like a lie, but the headmaster didn't say anything more, though I thought I was seeing things, as in his eyes seemed to flash with regret. After the homeroom teacher left, I tried to look down at the paper. It contained the 8 unsettling rules for my survival. 1. After each class period, the teacher may issue 1 rule. 2. The teacher absolutely must not refuse any reasonable request from the students. 3. During class, the teacher is not allowed to let students leave the classroom. 4. Do not pay attention to students who are late even if their faces are disfigured. 5. Do not punish students. If you do, the teacher will be punished in pairs. 6. In class, the class monitor will always help the teacher. 7. This block does not have a homeroom teacher. If the teacher meets the homeroom teacher, immediately ask the class monitor for help. 8. You must be a good teacher. Do not let any student doubt the teacher. The 7th rule had a tiny smiley face after it, and those last 3 exclamation points seemed to hit me directly. I began to feel nervous. Just then, the bell rang for class to begin. The bell rang, signaling the start of the first class. I looked up, and the unsettling atmosphere intensified. 36 students, all of them complete strangers to me, were already present. They stood simultaneously and greeted me with a unified, unnervingly still bow. Forcing myself to appear calm, I walked to the podium. My assigned textbook was for literature, a subject I was certainly not qualified to teach, being a music teacher by profession. A sharp, malicious voice cut through the silence. A male student named Kenjiro, positioned in the back row, openly questioned my ability. His eyes held a chilling malice, and his smile was a cold, unsettling grimace. "Teacher, you're a music teacher. Are you sure you haven't forgotten the lesson today?" His challenge was direct and designed to sow doubt. I immediately recalled Rule 8. You must be a good teacher. Do not let any student doubt the teacher. I instantly and firmly denied forgetting my lesson, maintaining a facade of complete preparedness. Following Rule 6, the class monitor will always assist the teacher. I turned to the girl in the right-hand row. This was Akari, the class monitor. She offered a sweet, helpful smile and informed me with quiet confidence that we were on page 61. Her assistance allowed me to quickly regain my footing, find the correct passage, and begin the lecture. The lesson proceeded for a while, maintaining a strained silence until a new crisis emerged. A student named Shiori raised her hand. "Teacher," she asked, her voice small but clear, "I want to go to the bathroom." This was the first true deadlock. I was trapped between 2 contradictory mandates. Rule 2 stipulated that I must never refuse any reasonable student request, and a bathroom break is certainly reasonable. However, Rule 3 forbade the teacher from allowing students to leave the classroom during class. To violate either rule, I instinctively knew, would be catastrophic. The entire class froze. Every student fixed their eyes on me, unblinking, waiting for my judgment. The air grew heavy, almost suffocating. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching, blood-curdling scream tore through the wall from the adjacent classroom. It was unmistakably Sensei Sato's voice. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. This was not an examination, it was a deadly, spectral assessment designed to eliminate teachers who failed. I could not afford to violate Rule 3, which would put me on the path to Sensei Sato's fate, but I could also not refuse a reasonable request. Thinking quickly, I offered a compromise that preyed on her self-interest and the importance of the test. I told Shiori that she could absolutely go, as her request was reasonable, but I emphasized that the lesson I was currently teaching contained vital material for the upcoming test, and if she left now, she would waste a crucial 100 minutes of class time. The girl's face darkened with frustration and reluctance, but after a moment of intense internal debate, she slowly sat down, having accepted my logic and implicitly chosen the test over the break. The relief was immediate. The bell rang, signifying the end of the period. The students instantly transformed. Their horrifying stillness vanished, replaced by the typical, cheerful, and noisy chatter of high school students. I quickly urged Shiori to use the break to go to the bathroom. I remembered Rule 1. After each class, the teacher may issue 1 rule. I wasted no time. I picked up the chalk and immediately wrote my first survival rule on the blackboard. No going to the bathroom during class. During the break, I spoke with Akari, the class monitor, about the test. She seemed visibly nervous and worried about the class's consistently poor performance. I did my best to comfort her, gently insisting that failure was normal and that improvement was always possible. As I spoke, the students around us laughed, and the immense pressure I had been under briefly eased. I realized that once class was dismissed, the students seemed to temporarily shed their menacing, rule-enforcing intent. The second period, bell rang, but Kenjiro was missing. I started my English lesson, but a moment later, a polite but firm knock interrupted the instruction. Kenjiro stood in the doorway. His appearance was ghastly. His head was grotesquely crushed, smeared with blood, and terrifyingly disfigured. He offered a ridiculous excuse, claiming he had been late because he was hit by a car. I instantly focused on Rule 4. Do not pay attention to late students even if their faces are distorted. Ignoring him would be the safe move. However, before I could look away, Kenjiro began to threaten me. He announced that since he was late, he would punish himself by standing for the entire class. This was a violation of Rule 5, which strictly forbade student punishment, or else the teacher would suffer double the punishment. If his half-crushed head were to fall off, or if he punished himself severely, and I was punished in kind, I feared I would be utterly destroyed or disappear. I had to prevent his self-punishment. Thinking quickly, I loudly announced that I was introducing an impromptu English word. Transmission game. I quickly started the game, giving Akari the first turn, which in turn gave Kenjiro a vital opportunity to participate. Kenjiro, despite his gruesome state, had to join the game to avoid punishing himself. After class ended, I was relieved to see that Kenjiro's severe injuries had reverted to a normal, minor bruise. Akari later confided in me, revealing that Kenjiro was poor and was supporting his sick grandmother, often taking odd, dangerous jobs for money, like the 1,000 yen he had accepted to fake the injury. Deeply concerned for his health and safety, I gave him some money of my own and urgently advised him to see a doctor and take the next class off. I realized that, above all the rules, I had a duty as a teacher not to abandon a student in need. I immediately turned to the blackboard and wrote my second rule, a protective measure born out of genuine care. No one was allowed to punish themselves. Akari, the class monitor, noted a profound difference between me and the preceding teachers, telling me I was the only one who genuinely cared about the students. During a quiet moment, the students also confided in me, explaining that a vice principal had once unjustly punished Shiori for a trivial infraction. A flicker of alarm ran through me as I remembered Rule 7. This block does not have a homeroom teacher. If the teacher meets the homeroom teacher, immediately find the class monitor for help. However, the student had specifically mentioned a vice principal, not a homeroom teacher, so I pushed the thought aside. The class passed the third period without incident. The students were now actively looking out for me. Just before the fourth period, Shiori ran back into the room, discreetly placing a bottle of cold water on my desk. She explained she had bought it because I mentioned being hot, and Akari revealed the store was far away. It was clear now, these were kind kids caught in a strange curse. The fourth period was physical education, held outside, and the students, including Akari, asked me directly if I would stay with them forever. I assured them I would not forget any of them, even when they graduated, hoping to provide them with the sense of stability and permanence they craved. Later, the heating in our classroom was deliberately shut off by the alleged vice principal, who was actively seeking excuses to disband Class 13 due to their poor performance. The students, united by this threat, rallied together, vowing to prevent the abolition of their class. Their determination further solidified my commitment to them. After the final exam, the results were astonishing. Class 13 had jumped from dead last to second to last. The class erupted in pure, unadulterated joy. They were safe for the time being. The climax arrived on the day a man identifying as the vice principal marched in to accuse Shiori of cheating. He claimed to have personally transferred me to the school and threatened to fire me if I did not let him take Shiori away. Without hesitation, I resigned on the spot, refusing to allow him to slander or threaten my students. The vice principal locked the students in the classroom and led me downstairs for the resignation process. As we walked, he suddenly stopped and shoved a paper in my hand, his face taut with urgency. He whispered, "Remember quickly." I looked down and saw a familiar list of the rules. Rules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. In that instant, the fog of the past lifted. I realized the truth. I was Sensei Koyama, assigned a year ago to grade 11, class 13, to take the year-end test. I had become so absorbed by the game of rules that I had lost my true self. The man in front of me was not a vice principal, but Sensei Tanaka, the head homeroom teacher. He was trying to rescue me from the curse that traps all assessed teachers. But the paper he gave me was missing Rule 7. This block has no homeroom teacher. If the teacher meets a homeroom teacher, immediately find the class monitor for help. If the block had no homeroom teacher, then who exactly was the man in front of me? Just then, the entire school shook violently. An earthquake. Sensei Tanaka panicked, urging me to run. He confessed that the students were demons who wanted to drag me down with them. I glanced at the incomplete rules and the small smile after the missing Rule 7. I snatched the key from Sensei Tanaka's hand. Fueled by the memory of my mother, Sensei Lin Qian, a teacher who had perished in the earthquake 16 years ago, and her firm belief that a teacher must always trust and protect his students. I raced back to class 13. As I opened the door, the current scene fractured, replaced by a devastating vision. I saw my mother, Sensei Lin Qian, struggling with the warped door of the same classroom, while Akari and Kenjiro, unmistakably younger, begged her to save herself. The building collapsed, burying them all. My mother's dying message, scrawled with chalk, was, "Xiao Shuai, don't hate me." In the blink of an eye, I burst through the door and screamed, "Run quickly!" We escaped just as the entire block collapsed into a ruin. Safe in the schoolyard, Akari was quiet, muttering, "We escaped? This is the first time we escaped." Kenjiro explained everything. They had recognized me as Sensei Lin Qian's son. They were the students who died with my mother 16 years ago. They were not demons, but the ghosts of the 13th class. They had been testing the new teachers every 2 years, looking for one worthy of their mother's legacy. One who would not abandon them like the real vice principal had done Sensei Tanaka, who was actually the former principal and the true antagonist, had tried to escape the periodic evaluation by placing the worst teachers in class 13 to guarantee failure. He knew I, Sensei Lin Qian's son, was the only one likely to pass. Shiori, with tears in her eyes, asked if I would stay. Akari gently interjected, saying, "Sensei Koyama still has to teach many other students, but, if possible, can you come visit us once every 2 years? We will miss you very much." The whole class looked at me with immense anticipation. I smiled and promised, "Okay, I will come back to see you." As I left, they waved goodbye, shouting, "Sensei Koyama, go ahead, we will keep the vice principal for you." I paused, remembering that Sensei Tanaka was no longer the vice principal, but the head homeroom teacher, who had removed his principal title to avoid the curse. He was finally trapped by the very rules he had tried to exploit, held in the collapsing ruin by the students he had sought to destroy. I walked away, leaving the spectral class 13 to serve justice.